Hey guys, Dali44 here. I need no introduction, but I got one anyway. As a guy who grew up in the 90s, my generation had a lot of things that we craved and got, such as reruns of old cartoons that came before our time, trains, computer programs having lives of their own, The Simpsons, American teenagers kicking Japanese monsters' asses, cartoons made by writers who are flipped and have no scripts, Lego, Disney films, toys having lives of their own, penguins, and a bunch of other things we don't need to mention. But there was one other thing that my generation absolutely loved, and that was robots.
That's right, robots was one of the big things in the 90s as well. So we got lots of robots from other media such as the Star Wars movies.
So in the early 2000s, the BBC gave us Little Robots.
Little Robots is a stop-motion animated children's TV series produced by Cosgrove Hall Films, the same team that brought us Danger Mouse, Count Duckula and The Wind in the Willows. And it was broadcast on CBeebies, the BBC's children's channel, of course. The show was based on a series of books by Mike Brownlow in 1999. It was distributed by BBC worldwide to over 60 countries.
As I said, this isn't the first time we ever saw robots on the TV screen. We've seen them in loads of other things like Star Wars and a bunch of others we don't need to mention.
And the show has a whole variety of literally colourful characters. There's the central character in the show, Tiny. He's turquoise, has a pink antenna on the top of his head, and a pink button on his belly which opens the lid on his head, uncovering a couple of tools which he uses to fix machines and robots. He is also responsible for putting the day-night lever at the right times in the Little Robot world. Tiny lives in the nut and bolt tree, which is right next to the day-night lever, which is pretty handy considering that he has to pull it every day and night.
So you could say that Tiny is pretty much the god of the robot world. I mean, he controls the moon, he controls the sun, he fixes robots, he fixes things that robots made, and a bunch of other stuff. So he's basically a god in this world.
He also has a positive view on things and always tries to help his friends to live in peace and harmony together. And even when someone does something stupid, he's never really one to lose his temper.
Oh no! What's the matter? Spotty's only gone and broken the day-night lever, that's what. Oh, Tiny, it's all my fault. I'm sure I can fix it, but I'll probably need a new lever.
Because they're his friends, he's always willing to forgive and forget. And why?
Because that's what friends do! They forgive each other!
There's the robot dog Messy, who loves things dirty and messy, which kinda hints the name. Scary often teaches him tricks and makes shows with him, where he's known as Messy the Wonder Hound. His vocal effects were provided by Frank Welker, who you may know as Dr. Claw, Frederick Jones and Scooby-Doo and a bunch of other characters. There's the eldest of all the little robots, Sporty, the strongest and the fittest. He's constantly running, playing games and sports, and never gets tired of making himself stronger and fitter. Sporty has his own private gym with a trampoline and a conveyor belt. So I guess you could say that Sporty's a jogging fool. There's Stretchy, a very organised and efficient little robot, who's in charge of sorting the junk that comes from the chute in the junkyard. Though his main worry is to keep the junkyard organised so his friends can use it. His obsession for organisation sometimes causes problems. On one occasion, he accidentally tied a knot in his neck due to overwork. He lives in the junkyard inside an abandoned radiator, and his junkyard's always the best place to go when a little robot needs a bit of junk. So you could say that whatever you need, Stretchy's the robot to go to.
Well, I've just tidied up a couple of boxes of bendy fettling pyrites and shimmer shavings. They're over there in that corner.
Bendy Fittling right tires?
Bendy fettling pyrites and shimmer shavings.
Thanks, Stretchy.
Stretchy was voiced by Jimmy Hibbert, who's been in a lot of Cosgrove Hall projects before this one.
If you don't know who he is, Jimmy Hibbert has been in pretty much everything that Cosgrove Hall's ever made.
Such examples would be when he played Isambard the Barebone Toad in A Tale of Two Toads, and Dr. Von Goosewink and other various characters in Count Duckula.
So if you don't know who the actor is, then you most probably have heard his voice in various kids shows before this, and even after.
Rusty is a feminine and sensitive little robot who wears a pink dress and is very rusty metal, and wears a funnel on the top of her head. She lives in an old rusty bucket and constantly has new ideas on how to improve and decorate it. She's very impulsive and accidentally prone. and tense situations or anything that causes her to get overexcited can make her overheat and release puffs of steam from her funnel. She also has a notably childish crush on Sporty. Though I guess it would make sense, I mean he is the strongest of the robots. And she gets pretty nervous at times.
What's the matter, Rusty? You look worried.
I am worried.
See you nervous, brat?
There's Stripey, a big little robot made with coloured stripes of metal. He's practically the complete opposite of Sporty, moves and talks slowly, but he's a deep and introspective thinker, also a specialist in flowers and storytelling. His best friend is a teddy named Teddy, his metal teddy bear, so you could say that Stripey is like the robot version of Mr. Bean, if he talked more than he did physical performance. And his favourite activities are taking care of his garden, telling stories to his friends, and playing games that require little agility and lots of skill.
I may not be fast, but I am good.
Noisy is a pink little robot who speaks very loudly. She has a trumpet for a nose, plays instruments, writes and sings songs, and loves whatever kind of noise she can produce. Her house is an old drum with a xylophone-themed entryway. Her passion for loud music and noise can often be bothersome for her friends, but she's also a great entertainer. Her laughter is unforgettable too. Spotty is a round yellow little robot covered in coloured spots. She wears spectacles and can retract all her limbs and roll around like a ball for fast locomotion. She has a strong personality, likes rules and orders, and tends to give orders to her friends, often causing conflicts with her friends.
Why don't we just play run and fun with the others?
Rule number 8, no playing with little robots who aren't in the club.
Spotty, don't you see? It's not fun having all these rules.
Well, I love it.
But no one else does.
Wow, she's just as bad as Mr. Fussy.
So I guess you could say that Spotty's a little bit of a stick in the mud when it comes to rules. She's almost like Die Station from Ivor the Engine, being a stickler for orders and regulations. Oh, and by the way, here's an interesting piece of trivia for you Vicar of Dibley fans out there. That was Alice Tinker voicing Spotty the whole time.
I dreamt I built this giant sculpture, a work of art.
You know, I can't believe it's not right.
Scary is a purple little robot with a black cape. He's a great actor with a Donald Snyder-esque voice. He likes to scare his friends, though he's often not successful, and stage shows to entertain his friends. He has his own stage, which is also his house.
I have very high standards, you know.
And as I said, he likes to scare his friends, and sometimes he's successful, and sometimes he's not so successful.
Hello, Scary.
Oh, bravo, bravissimo.
Okay, now you're acting, and not very well.
Well, at least I didn't get an actor degree out of a cereal box, mate. Are you trying to scare me?
Well, I thought I was scary.
Scary can't help making things fun for people, can he? Just like you, Tiny.
And then of course there's the Sparky twins.
We're the same! We wear the same! We walk the same! We look the same! We talk the same! We are the Sparky Twins!
Oh, how do I describe the Sparky twins? Imagine Norman Price and Bill and Ben the Tank Engine twins rolled into one if they were two girlish robots. Then you'd have pretty much as hilarious characters as you can think of.
Okay, Sparky 2, watch this! Pretty good, Sparky 1, but I didn't know you were allowed to have help.
They're a greenish-blue little robot couple with different coloured bellies. The twins are almost identical, full of energy, love dancing and doing practical jokes on the other robots.
There, all neat and good. What, hey? Who did that?
Morning, Stretchy!
Oh, you Sparky twins, always up to something.
Sparky 1 has a pink spot on her belly and Sparky 2 has a yellow spot on her belly. They're able to communicate with each other over long distances by exchanging electrical rays through the antennas on their heads, and their catchphrase is
Gimme free, Sparky!
when they high-five.
The Sparky twins are my favourite characters in the entire show, because they're the most funny, they have the best lines, they have sparkling personalities, no pun intended, and they're not bad for the hell of it, they just want to have fun. So you could basically say that they're fun-loving rascals.
You just love doing this kind of thing, don't you? I suppose we just do, Tiny. It's what we're best at, really. Larking about. Flashing lights, practical jokes, you know.
They live in a pair of speakers by an old record table. And what also makes them so great is that they know when they've taken the joke too far and know when to apologise to their friends.
We didn't mean any harm. We were just having fun and we're very sorry. We'll make it up to you. Won't we, Sparky One?
And there's something else I noticed about the Sparkies. In most episodes you've seen them, they seem to hang out with Tiny a lot. It's almost like Tiny's their favourite little robot friend.
Hey! Sparky! 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 It's me, Tiny! 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 Hello! Hello! Tiny! Sparky One!
In fact, I sometimes think the Sparky 2 might have a bit of a crush on Tiny.
Give me three, Tiny! Three!
The Sparkies are also like typical siblings. I mean, they have fun together, they play tricks on robots together, and they dance together too. Fabulously, I might add. But like all other siblings, they have their arguments and their fallings out in certain episodes. But in the end, they're still sisters, and they always make up for it in the end.
Sparky 2! Oh, Sparky 1! Oh, I've been so worried! You've been worried? How do you think I felt?
And I find it a little bit odd how these two never got that many episodes to themselves. They're fucking hilarious. And I know what you're going to say, yeah, there's a lot of characters here and we need to focus on a lot of them. But if I'm completely honest, when the Sparky twins are around, it just makes the episodes more entertaining. I mean, come on, it's always hilarious to have at least one or two troublemakers in a kids' show.
Bundle out! That's what it's called when you fall over in Botch Botch. Can I have a go? Yeah, of course you can!
The Sparky twins are voiced by Mel Gilroy and Sue Perkins, who are a bit of a comedy duo. In fact, their lines are so good I keep thinking that they improvise half the time.
My turn! Mine? You had last go before we went to bed. Did not. That wasn't a proper go. Was absolutely two with pink knobs on.
Other characters include Flappy the Bat and the Bobo Birds, who are all voiced by Frank Welker, who often play important roles in the show.
Oh!
Well, that's the big list of characters done and dusted. Now let's talk about the animation. It's all stop-motion animation, which was one of the famous animation styles that Cosgrove Hall was famous for at the time. Like they've done it with Wind in the Willows and Noddy's Toyland Adventures. And the way they've done it in Little Robots is really impressive. I see it as a sort of upgrade to the animation in Noddy's Toyland Adventures. I mean, yeah, the animation in that was decent, and it made sense for them to use stop-motion, considering the fact that the characters were literally toys and a few goblins. But have you ever noticed that in Noddy's Toyland Adventures, the lips don't move whenever they talk? It's sort of like in Fireman Sam and Postman Pat, when the characters' lips would only move to show their facial expressions. But in here, you see their lips actually moving when they talk. So Little Robots animation was an upgrade to Noddy's Toyland Adventures animation. And the settings for the world they're in is really impressive. In fact, half the time it almost looks like they used real metal objects. Like there's a radiator, there's a record player, there's a bunch of other stuff that's made out of metal. I mean, it's so realistic that you could almost mistake it for actual metal items.
Oh, yes! Of course! Brilliant!
This style animation and the lip movements were so brilliant that Cosgrove Hall would eventually use it for their version of Postman Pat. From Postman Pat that they did to Postman Pat Special Delivery Service. But we're here to talk about good shows. As I said, the episodes were broadcast on the CBeebies channel for young kids. The show teaches kids of quite a few things, like friendship, forgiveness, how to have fun, and a bunch of other stuff that a lot of kids shows like this were teaching kids at the time. They've recently started re-showing the show on CBeebies in school days for the young kids to watch in the morning before they go to school. In fact, the show was so popular that a series of LEGO Duplo sets were made based on the show. I mean, they didn't make a lot of Duplo sets, but they were good sets nonetheless.
As a kid, I didn't get to see every single episode of Little Robots, but they did end up doing a lot of reruns on the CBeebies channel, and watching it again, it's still a decent show.
But if I'm completely honest, Little Robots is not exactly up there with other Cosworth 4 creations such as Danger Mouse, Count Duckula, or even Wind in the Willows. But it's still worth being one of their best shows they ever made. So if you love robots and stop motion animation, then I'd definitely say check this show out. And show it to your kids if you have any. I'm sure they'll love it. I know I did when I was little.
I'm Dalek44, and I'll see you next time, folks.
Where are you going?
Well, I was planning to go down to the pub for a quick drink of J2O.
Oh, yes! Can we come with you?
Well,
Oh, go on, please. We'll be ever so good. Won't we, Sparky one? Yeah, of course, Sparky too.
oh, why not? I'll go get my wallet.